Have you ever wondered why certain people leave you feeling completely drained, even after the shortest conversation? They smile, they listen, they pretend to care, but deep down, something about them pulls you off balance. You can't explain it, but you feel it, a quiet unease that lingers long after they're gone. It's not your imagination. Some people don't destroy you by attacking you directly. They do it by slowly feeding on your peace, your confidence, your sense of self. And by the time you notice, it's already too late. The truth is, most of the damage in your life doesn't come from enemies. It comes from the ones you think are safe, the ones you've let close, the ones who speak softly but think cruelly. You've probably excused their behavior 100 times, told yourself they didn't mean it, that they were just having a bad day, that you were overreacting. But you weren't. You were seeing the truth, then gaslighting yourself into ignoring it, because you wanted to believe the best in them. Because it's easier to blame yourself than to accept that someone you love is quietly poisoning your soul. There's a kind of person who feeds on good hearts. They sense empathy like sharks sense blood. They find your kindness and turn it into leverage. They twist your compassion until it becomes a cage. They drain your energy and call it love. They control you through guilt. And the cruelest part, they make you think it's your fault. They convince you that setting boundaries means you're selfish, that walking away means you're heartless. They keep you trapped in cycles of apology, doubt, and exhaustion, until you forget who you were before them. But there's something they fear: awareness. The moment you see them clearly, they lose their power, because manipulation only works in the dark. Once you bring light to it, everything changes. You begin to notice the patterns, the way they twist every situation to make themselves the victim, the way they downplay your achievements but magnify your mistakes, the way they forget your needs but never theirs. They project strengths, but underneath it they are terrified of being exposed, of losing the control they built over you through years of emotional subtlety. And that's the moment everything starts to shift. When you stop defending them, when you stop explaining yourself, when you realize that love should never cost you your peace, you begin to take your power back, quietly at first. You answer less. You explain less. You stop participating in their drama. You stop trying to heal what was never yours to fix. You start seeing your silence not as weakness, but as strength. Every time you pull away, you reclaim a part of yourself they tried to erase. Every time you choose distance over argument, you grow stronger. Because detachment isn't cold, it's clarity. You'll feel guilt in the beginning. That's how deep their conditioning goes. You'll wonder if you're being too harsh, too distant, too unforgiving. But that guilt isn't truth, it's residue. The echo of manipulation that used to work on you. The voice that used to whisper, "Don't be selfish. Ignore it." Guilt is the chain they left behind to keep you from walking free. But freedom always begins with discomfort. The pain of letting go is temporary. The pain of staying trapped lasts forever. There's a peace that comes when you finally stop trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. When you stop chasing love from people who only offer control. When you stop giving explanations to people who thrive on confusion. Protecting your energy isn't cruel, it's survival. It's how you make room for the people who see you clearly, the ones who add light instead of taking it. Because the truth is simple. Not everyone deserves access to you. Some people are lessons, not lifetimes. Some people are mirrors, showing you the parts of yourself you need to heal. And some are warnings, proof that peace is not found in fixing others, but in freeing yourself. When you finally walk away from those who drain you, you don't lose anything of value. You gain clarity, you gain quiet, you gain the ability to breathe again without feeling like you owe the world an apology. That's not loss. That's liberation. And once you taste that freedom, you'll never settle for anything that costs your peace again. The moment you stop giving pieces of yourself to people who never deserve them, you begin to remember who you are. You start to feel a power returning, a quiet, steady fire that's been waiting beneath the surface all along, the kind of power that doesn't need to prove itself, the kind that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain. It just stands tall, unshakable, unbothered, alive. Because that's what happens when you cut ties with those who drain you. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop playing small to keep the peace. You start walking in truth, and truth is never afraid of being alone. But this is where most people fall back. They confuse loneliness with healing. They think the silence means they've made a mistake. It doesn't. The silence is the sound of your energy realigning. It's the space where you finally hear your own thoughts again. It's uncomfortable at first because you've lived too long surrounded by noise. Other people's chaos, other people's expectations, other people's pain. But once you adapt to that quiet, you realize how powerful it really is. In that stillness, you start to see clearly who belongs and who doesn't. You start to see that love without respect isn't love, that empathy without limits becomes self-betrayal. You've spent years trying to understand people who had no intention of understanding you. Years trying to fix hearts that were never broken. They were empty. You mistook emptiness for depth because you were looking through the lens of your own goodness. You believed that if you gave enough, they'd eventually give back. But some people don't want connection. They want control. They feed off your reaction, your effort, your confusion. They can't feel powerful without making someone else feel small. That's not connection, it's consumption. And you've been starving yourself to keep them full. The truth is, you were never meant to carry their weight. You were meant to rise. You were meant to learn the difference between compassion and captivity. Walking away doesn't make you cold. It makes you conscious. It means you've finally seen the cost of keeping people who treat your peace like it's disposable. You begin to realize that protecting your energy isn't about being guarded. It's about being wise. You stop explaining your worth and start living it. You stop proving your loyalty to people who wouldn't even notice your absence unless it inconvenienced them. And that shift changes everything. Because the moment you choose yourself, the world starts to look different. You move differently. You speak differently. You attract differently. You stop resonating with chaos. You start craving peace, truth, depth, authenticity. The same people who used to control you can't reach you anymore because you're no longer operating on the same frequency. Their games, their guilt, their manipulation, it all loses power when you stop participating. You realize you don't have to fight to be seen. You just have to stop standing in places where you're ignored. There's a strength that comes from quiet detachment. It's not anger. It's not resentment. It's clarity. It's knowing you don't owe anyone access to your mind, your time, or your soul. You've learned that protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's sacred. And the world will test you. People will try to pull you back into the noise. They'll accuse you of changing, of being distant, of thinking you're better. Let them, because you are better. Not better than them. Better than who you were when you accepted less than you deserved. The path forward isn't about revenge or validation. It's about freedom. It's about no longer needing someone's approval to breathe. You become untouchable when you learn to let go without bitterness. When you stop explaining your choices to people who never respected your pain. When you choose distance over drama, truth over comfort, peace over the illusion of connection, that's when everything starts to align. The right people, the right energy, the right direction. So keep going. Don't look back. Don't water dead things just because they once looked alive. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for outgrowing their chaos. The peace you've been craving isn't found in fixing others. It's found in protecting yourself. The freedom you've been seeking isn't out there. It's in the moment you decide you're done betraying yourself to keep others happy. Walk away from the noise. Guard your silence. Trust the pull of your soul toward what feels calm, what feels true, what feels like peace. Because that's where your power lives. And this time, no one gets to take it from you again. Freedom begins the moment you stop apologizing for protecting your peace. The moment you stop explaining your worth to people who never saw it. That's when the power shifts. You start to realize that not everyone deserves access to you, that not every connection is sacred, and that walking away is sometimes the most spiritual act of self-respect there is. You don't owe anyone endless chances. You don't owe them explanations. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself the life that exists beyond the noise. Because if you keep letting the wrong people have power over you, you'll keep losing pieces of yourself trying to please those who only thrive when you're small. You've spent enough time carrying guilt that was never yours. You've been the strong one for people who would never lift a finger for you. You've poured from an empty cup and called it loyalty. But what has it given you? Exhaustion, doubt, silence in moments you needed to speak. And now you see it. The more you give to the wrong people, the more they take. Because takers don't stop until you do. They don't feel sorry when you break. They only panic when you stop giving. So stop feeding what drains you. Stop explaining why you need to rest. Stop waiting for them to understand. Some people will never meet you where you are because they benefit from you staying broken. And that realization hurts, but it also sets you free. It strips away illusion and leaves only truth. The truth that not everyone clapping for you wants you to win. The truth that not everyone who says I care actually does. The truth that your peace is more valuable than their approval. When you finally see that, you stop begging to be chosen. You stop chasing closure from people who never wanted resolution. They wanted control. You stop seeking validation from those who can't even validate themselves. You stop needing the world to agree that you're enough because deep down you already know. You've always known. You just forgot. You forgot because you were surrounded by noise. Voices that told you to stay small, to be nice, to be quiet. But you were never meant to live in the background of your own life. You were meant to stand firm, to rise without apology, to take up space without asking permission. Your kindness was never the problem. The problem was giving it to people who saw it as weakness. Now you understand real power is silent. It doesn't demand. It doesn't chase. It simply moves with purpose, unbothered by who doesn't understand it. The world needs that version of you. The one who isn't afraid to let go, who chooses peace over performance, who walks away even when it hurts. That's strength, not the kind the world celebrates, but the kind that keeps your soul intact, the kind that doesn't need to be seen to be real. You've been through enough lessons to know that pain isn't your identity, it's your awakening. Every person who betrayed you was a mirror, showing you where you still abandoned yourself. Every heartbreak was a teacher, showing you how deeply you could love and still rise. Every loss was redirection, pushing you closer to truth. Now it's time to act, to protect your space like your life depends on it, because it does. Your energy shapes your future. Your peace determines your clarity. You can't build a beautiful life in a toxic environment. You can't grow if you keep planting your roots in poisoned soil. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them project. None of it matters. What matters is that you stay aligned with who you are becoming, that you keep walking toward the calm, even if it means walking alone. Because peace is not passive, it's power restrained. It's the choice to rise above instead of react. It's the decision to stop explaining and start existing fully. The more you protect it, the more unstoppable you become. One day you'll look back and realize how far you've come, how much you've reclaimed. You'll see that every goodbye, every boundary, every painful ending was preparing you for this version of yourself, the one that no longer bends just to be loved, the one that doesn't chase chaos disguised as connection, the one that knows silence can be louder than words. So stand firm in your truth, walk with your head high, stop dimming your light for people who only show up when it's convenient. You are not here to be drained. You are here to shine. Protect that. Guard it fiercely. Because once you fully commit to your peace, the world has no choice but to meet you at your level. And those who can't will fall away. And when they do, you'll finally see what peace really feels like. Not the absence of chaos, but the presence of power. There comes a moment when you stop asking why they hurt you and start asking why you kept letting them. That's when the truth hits, not as anger, but as awakening. You see the patterns, the manipulation, the emotional hooks that kept you bound. And suddenly it's not about them anymore, it's about you, about the strength it takes to finally say no more. Because healing doesn't begin when you understand them. It begins when you choose yourself. That single choice, quiet, firm, unapologetic, becomes the turning point. The moment you stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even bandage your wounds. You've been taught to tolerate pain disguised as love, to forgive endlessly even when they never ask, to be the bigger person while they remain small. But real growth isn't found in endless forgiveness. It's found in self-respect. You don't owe your peace to anyone who thrives on your chaos. You don't owe softness to those who weaponize it. Every time you protect your energy, you're rewriting the story of your life. You're proving that your heart doesn't have to break to be kind. It can be strong. It can be discerning. It can love deeply and still walk away when love becomes a battlefield. The world will try to convince you that walking away is weakness. That silence means surrender. But silence can be the loudest form of power. It's the sound of detachment, the sound of boundaries, the sound of finally understanding that you can't save people who choose to stay broken. Let them go. Let them learn through the consequences of their own behavior. You're not abandoning them. You're releasing what was never your responsibility. You were not put on this earth to fix people who refuse to grow. You were put here to evolve, to rise, to protect your light from those who seek to dim it. And that's what they fear. The version of you who no longer needs their approval. The version who doesn't react, who doesn't chase, who doesn't justify. They don't know how to handle your peace, because your peace exposes their chaos. Your calm reveals their noise. And deep down, they know they can't reach you anymore. That's why they'll try to pull you back with guilt, with nostalgia, with empty apologies that sound like promises but feel like traps. Don't fall for it. Every time you return to what broke you, you teach it that it can break you again. This time, don't go back. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because your future is waiting, and it can't grow in the same soil where your soul was suffocating. You have to leave behind what no longer matches your frequency. You have to choose growth over comfort, peace over attachment, truth over illusion. The old you would have settled for survival. The new you craves expansion. You're not just healing, you're transforming. You're no longer the person who tolerates half effort, half love, half truths. You're becoming the person who attracts alignment, who moves with clarity, who protects peace like it's sacred currency. And it is. Peace is the new wealth, the new power, the new rebellion. The world thrives on distraction, on emotional chaos, on keeping you hooked to the noise. But you're choosing silence. You're choosing stillness. You're choosing a life where drama no longer dictates your energy. That's not boring. That's evolution. Because peace doesn't mean nothing happens. It means nothing shakes you. You're steady, calm, focused. You don't chase closure. You create it. You don't argue for your worth. You embody it. You don't wait for permission. You move like you already belong. And when you do, the world responds differently. The right people recognize your energy. Opportunities flow where resistance once lived. Life begins to mirror your clarity. It's not magic. It's alignment. Because when you protect your peace, you stop fighting against yourself. You stop leaking energy into battles that were never yours to fight. You stop trying to be understood and start being whole. That's the real transformation. The moment you realize you never needed to change who you are, you just needed to remove what was never meant for you. So take that step, close that door, detach from what no longer feeds your spirit. You've sacrificed enough for temporary comfort. Now it's time to live from truth, to rise above the noise, to reclaim every piece of yourself that you gave away in the name of love. You owe it to yourself to walk into the next chapter free, unshaken, unapologetic. Because the most dangerous thing you can become is a person who finally knows their worth and refuses to settle for anything less.